I'm grasping at straws. I'm tired. It's been 10 years and I don't know what else to do.
Missing for a decade, Nieko Lisi vanished in 2011, and his mom says she'll never stop searching for him.
I'm doing nothing but getting older, and I want to know where my son is before I die.
And I just hope that there's some piece somewhere that I'm gonna find out where he is or who did what to him.
Ever since I started talking about criminal cases on this channel, I wanted to talk about a disappearance at least once on this channel. So I took to the internet to find anything interesting to talk about, and I came across an interesting article that talks about the mysterious disappearance of Nieko Lisi. This case was a very peculiar story, as this story is full of a lot of mysteries that I wanted to discuss today. So, Nieko Anthony Lisi's story starts on the 11th of March of the year 1993. He was born in the state of New York, where he was raised alongside 3 other siblings. His past seems to be normal, as he was raised with his family, and he was an average teenager, as his past was very mundane, which makes his disappearance all the more strange, as he just up and left with no trace. His past is not well documented, and through digging around, there isn't much outside of what his mom said during one interview. His mother states that he was a very active person, as he was into sports. He would later pick up hunting with a bow as a hobby, and was into a lot of outdoor activities. And his parents would note that Nieko was a very headstrong individual who wasn't afraid to speak his own mind. His mother would also state that he defied authorities, whether it involved the principal of his school or his parents. Nieko wasn't scared of speaking his mind, and his parents thought that his mouth would be the reason as to why he would ever run into trouble. Other than that, there is no other indicator that would mark him as a malicious person or even a troubled teen. He had some attitude issues that aren't uncommon among teens. His behavior would not indicate that he was a very problematic or even a troubled individual. So, on to the incident that would forever change his family. This all started on September 30th in 2011. At this time, he was 18 years of age. Nieko's last days were rather strange, as accounts are all over the place. Police questioned a lot of his close friends, and the accounts vary. Sources say that he was planning to party at a cabin that was owned by his grandparents. There was some female clothing that was left behind. There was more people at the party, but there was hardly any evidence that was helpful. But there was a person of interest that the police later found, and this person was the last person who was seen with Nieko, his name being Robert Knight. Robert and Nieko were spotted together by Nieko's uncle, who was informed of their plans to head to Buffalo, New York, to meet up with some friends on a camping trip, and that was the last time that Nieko's uncle would ever see Nieko. During this time, Nieko was in a gold GMC Canyon pickup truck with Robert, and they went on their way. Robert stated that the pickup truck belonged to his grandfather and they would travel for a long time, but neither one ever made it to Buffalo. The day after, on October 1st, Robert went home to his parents' house in Romulus, Michigan, which is 7 hours away from Madison, which is where Nieko is from. Oddly enough, Robert told his parents that he dropped off Nieko down the road in the state of Michigan after he stole his phone. Nieko wasn't seen in the state of Michigan after the police looked in the area, and Nieko's family was concerned. His grandmother called Nieko at 5 p.m., which he answered hastily. Nieko explained that he was unable to talk with her, but he would call later. That call was the last time he was heard from again. Things after this became strange, as Nieko was lost without a trace, and the only person who was with him began to act strange. Nieko's mother, Monica Button, had later received a package that contained his driver's license, which was found outside the Hornell post office, which is close to Nieko's house. Robert Knight was the last person who was with Nieko before his disappearance. He was immediately questioned by authorities. Knight's behavior raised eyebrows, and he had a mental health evaluation, and Robert was hospitalized on October 5th, but he was released 4 days later on October 9th, and his attitude didn't change. On October 10th, he was found dead at his parents' house, and the cause of his death was believed to be a drug overdose. After Knight's death, Nieko's Facebook account was removed off social media, and to this day, his mother hasn't been able to recover the account. Before his death, Robert told his parents that Nieko had stolen his phone before both Robert and Nieko split. His phone belonged to Robert's grandmother, so she deactivated the phone immediately thereafter. The authorities tried to track Robert's phone, and there were no records about the lost phone. but the police tried to track down Nico's phone, and his phone was last being stolen in Tennessee. It seems odd that Nieko, who was from the state of New York, was in Tennessee, but apparently Nieko had lived in Tennessee for a little while when he was in high school. From the looks of things, he was there with friends and family during his high school year. Nico's mother kept looking for her son, and there was a lot of dead ends since his case was no longer just in New York. It was a statewide case, so police set their sights on Tennessee in the hopes of finding answers. Then, 4 years later, there was a big lead, as police uncovered the GMC Canyon pickup truck that was used by both Robert and Nieko before the last time they were seen together. The truck was in a rough state, and it was completely stripped of everything. That was very little information that led to anything meaningful. Then, Nico's uncle testified and said that Robert told him that the truck belonged to his grandfather, to which Robert's grandfather would later deny. So the pickup truck was presumed to have been stolen from someone in Madison, New York. Said person was never revealed to the public, but it seemed suspicious that the truck they were using didn't belong to either of them. There are a lot of dead ends in this case. That seems important to the story, but it seems impossible to find any connection because of how bizarre a lot of the details are. From the discovery that the truck was stolen, to the fact that Nieko wasn't seen anywhere in Michigan, even though Robert said that he was dropped off along the way, this case soon became cold, as people couldn't find anything. This case is relatively hidden to the general public, and no one has seemed to have picked up the case. People thought that maybe due to the increase in cell phone technology, maybe the phone that Nieko had could have been found. But it is difficult to say since phones weren't commonplace during the time Nieko disappeared, which was in the year 2011, which is more than a decade old. Even if they could find him, it would be difficult because his phone is old and it doesn't yield a lot of useful information. The only thing that I could see happening is if they find some phone records or messages around the date of the disappearance. It could lead to more big discoveries, but that seems unlikely since there is no certain answer because the data might not be stored properly. As it stands, the case soon became cold, and the family was left with no closure as to what could have happened to Nieko. The family became desperate to find something, so they put up a reward of $30,000 for any leads that could help them find Nieko. Nico's mother stated they wanted any kind of information, even if it takes money to receive said information, so they are willing to do whatever is possible in order to find out what happened to Nieko. 11 years later, after the disappearance of Nieko Lisi, things seemed bleak and not much was going on, but somehow a deer hunter in Steuben County found some skeletal remains that piqued the interest of the authorities. These skeletal remains could belong to Nieko Lisi, but then that would mean that Nieko had passed away long ago, due to the visible degradation of the remains. Nico's mother stated that she just wants answers in a local news story. She said, "I'll be honest this time. I'm hoping that it turns out to be my son." The authorities are working diligently to find out who the remains belong to. Maybe the family will catch their lucky break and discover what truly had happened to Nieko. His death weighed heavily on the family as one of the members was gone without any trace, and there was very little evidence. The only real witness to this had passed. The family just wants closure, and hopefully with this discovery, maybe they could find out what truly had happened to Nieko Lisi. Thank you for watching the video, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, and if you're new, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!